Hello and welcome to Fellowship of Geeks. I'm Jim.
I'm Diane. Be sure to like and subscribe down below and make a comment because we'd love to hear your opinions. We already know our opinions.
And you will too if you continue watching this video and then comment with us so that we can have true fellowship in a virtual internet kind of way.
That would be great.
All right, Diane, what do we have on tap for our first topic today?
Our first topic today, very, very popular at the moment. It's the kiss cam.
Oh, the kiss cam, which is cool to do with your wife or your girlfriend, as long as you don't also have a wife or husband or something. That gets a little funny.
Your very well-known, already public significant other.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the head of a billion-dollar company, maybe.
Yeah.
So, did you want to jump right into privacy? What our expectation is? How TV and pop culture has predicted the future?
So I don't feel like we need to summarize much. I feel like everyone in the world at this point probably knows the Coldplay Stadium concert where they introduced, this is the first time they'd had the Jumbotron and the Kiss Cam at one of their concerts and caught a couple who clearly didn't want to be seen there. It's kind of blown up all over the place.
It has ruled the internet for several days now in the meme-averse and everything else. And as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought of the recent Allstate commercial where Mayhem's in there. And I mean, I don't even know what's going on with mom or, she's with uncle, whoever it is. But the kid and the dad are out grilling on their TV on their patio and knock the grill over and burn the house down or something because mom's, I don't know, kissing the guy next to her or whatever because they showed up on Kiss Cam. And then that also made me think of the some of the old video you see of those where it's like, oh, they're sitting there, it's like, and the guy holds up the sign and says, "This is, that's my sister," or something. I'm like, I'm not going to kiss her like that.
There have been some very famous compilations of kiss cams that have either disasters or people that just go with it and jump into it. And there's a really famous one where like he's on the phone and drinking a beer and she's like, we're on the kiss cam, and he keeps ignoring her, and the mascot finally comes down and like grabs her and dips her and kisses her. So these have been a thing for a while. They're not new.
Not new. I mean, they've been doing it since I was a kid, going to Reds games and stuff.
Right. There's also going around, then someone's pulled back up a 2010 clip from a Modern Family episode where two of the characters end up not married to each other, end up at the game, and his explanation is, why would anything leave the stadium and the court we're at? Why would this become public somewhere else? It takes place within the venue we're at. In 2010, maybe that seemed reasonable.
I mean, that was the very 2010 was like right as the smartphone and the iPhone came out, and Androids were right behind that, and pretty soon, in a generation of those phones, everybody had an internet connected device that could do video and pictures, which is always scary giving your kiddos a internet connected device that they can show all the foolish things young people do. And thank God we had giant bulky camcorders and was not connected to the entire world. And didn't carry them everywhere with us. And our parents were like, oh, don't touch that, you'll break it, it's fragile.
But it does raise the question, what is your expectation of privacy when you are at a public venue, at a public event? There's a reason people used to have affairs in seedy motels and look over their shoulder. These people were at a very public event.
I mean, even Coldplay.
Mostly public.
Makes me wonder if they've gotten a boost in sales from all the new notoriety.
So what is your expectation?
I mean, I don't think, and with everybody putting their lives out on social media, talking about things to share to the world. But I mean, everybody posting, oh, I feel, lousy. I just ate a burrito for lunch, or much more crass things people post on Facebook and Instagram and Twitch videos they do and whatnot, and just all those different things. So you're giving your privacy away, and some of those are very carefully cultivated. Some people are just like, it's just, I'll let it all hang out, whatever everybody knows. And every time you talk, Facebook and Google are listening, and You know, Amazon's like, oh, you mentioned a toaster oven. Here's 17 ads for toaster ovens.
We're gonna get ads for toaster ovens.
Toaster
today.
ovens, that's right.
That's true, and I think too many people have a pocket device, and too often are we watching, even at known televised events.
Mhm.
Think of last year trying to watch Kelsey and Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, yeah.
Every time she was in the stadium, there was a camera on her.
Made watching NFL games challenging. Like,
And
you know
I'm
what
sure
Taylor Swift thinks about the NFL.
she behaved and thought she was at a private booth watching her boyfriend play football, but she also well knew that camera was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was constantly always on her or not, I
Right.
don't think she knew. But even if you're just sitting in the stands, even if you're Joe Schmo that just bought a ticket, I think you have to expect in this day and age, between security cameras, between cell phones,
Ring cameras.
camera, there is always the potential that you are on camera somewhere doing something.
We're not quite 1984 yet, but it's getting close to that, and
It's
we're
close.
allowing more of those. I mean, everybody has a Ring camera in their house and stuff. I'm like, sure, that's secure and fine and all until it's not.
Right. And so I struggle with what their expectation of privacy was. There's a lot of this that's very unknown as well, and a lot of speculation now that it's gone so wildly public.
Mm-hmm.
But there were clearly other people they knew there. So how private did they think this affair was? There were other people they knew there. There were other people apparently they worked
in their
with.
In their box or whatever, or their private suite that wasn't so private. And
right.
When you're standing out on the balcony.
So maybe there's a reason secret things are kept secret.
And don't do shady things.
Don't do shady things.
It won't become a big deal.
This is also very true.
If CEO was there with his wife and was on Kiss camera and he was just like, didn't want to be on TV, and they're like, oh, he's just, intensely private and kind of got caught in a bad, well, yeah, not so intensely private when you're, with not your spouse.
And I will say, my heart breaks for these families.
Absolutely. I mean, there is human tragedy behind that.
Who would have been devastated had this come out anyhow, but now they're publicly devastated. In some regards, probably getting more sympathy because it's publicly devastating.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, there's even memes about that.
to
Hey, Mom, how did we get all this money? Well, you see, your dad went to a Coldplay concert with the HR lady.
That was really good.
It's like, but does that replace the tragedy that's befallen your family? No, that money can never do that. But I don't have any problem with him being punished for doing shady things.
And sounds like probably is going to be in some respects. So the other problem with things being very public and the internet is information and disinformation move very quickly.
Is insane the amount of disinformation that came out around that.
Right.
And trying to discern, I'm like, is this real? Because it even, that first resignation letter seemed pretty, or the apology letter, I guess.
Almost immediately, there seemed to be an apology letter that included a paragraph that said, this was a private moment you should have intruded on. I'm like, that is not how apologies are done.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you're tone deaf here still.
It makes more sense to me that that's come out to have been a fraud. That's not a real letter. Wasn't written by him. I think kudos to a company that said, we have better standards than this. And appears by the weekend to have let him go. Strange, I haven't heard consequence or the similar thing being said about her yet.
I mean, she's not the CEO, so not a
but I
big deal.
feel like you probably should deal them both the same.
Oh, agreed.
From a corporate standpoint, they should suffer the same consequence on that one.
Agreed completely.
But there's been an awful lot of employees kind of coming forward and scuttlebutt by employees saying, yeah, it's been kind of a toxic place and we weren't really sure why. And this explains a lot of things. She was getting some preferential treatment. She had a career that kind of skyrocketed beyond what other people thought it should be. But again, I'm going to take that with a giant grain of salt.
Right.
I've met bitter corporate employees. They're going to say
there's some
that
jealousy
regardless.
there too. Oh, well, maybe she was really good at her job. some shadows cast on that now. But yeah, who knows?
The continued fallout from this corporately will be interesting to watch. HR policy changes that will happen across a corporate board might be interesting.
I'm pretty sure there was. I mean, having read enough policy manuals and worked for companies,
Right.
and especially at those C-suite levels, sure there were things. And if it wasn't like everybody that has a big companies looking at their contracts, their C-suite people saying, "Oh, maybe we should
Maybe some
rethink some of
looks
this
going on
Yeah.
at a lot of companies.
But I can't imagine a lot of those don't exist already.
We know people who've worked not at that executive
Yeah.
level, but worked at corporations who have very clear policies that you cannot be involved,
yeah.
you cannot be married, and friends who've left a company because they were wanted to get married and couldn't both be
Right.
there. So yeah, this will be interesting.
Indeed. So
yeah,
don't do shady things.
Don't do shady things, and then you don't have to worry about what your privacy is.
Right. Who cares? You show up on the Kiss Cam.
Always assume you're going to be on camera.
And maybe reconsider your concert choices.
There you go.
Well, speaking of things that are fatiguing,
Oh, yeah.
does anybody besides, I don't know, me, suffer from Pedro Pascal fatigue?
What? He's not your favorite actor ever to see in everything that's coming out right now?
I am nonplussed for the Fantastic Four, the third iteration in modern times of the cinematic Fantastic Four. Yeah, not excited, even though there is the Galactus giant popcorn bucket. I mean, I'm a little excited for that, but not like $80 or
Well,
whatever
that's
they
because
want
we
for
like
it.
popcorn.
Popcorn.
Popcorn's good.
I'm glad it's not what is he? Reed Richards is his character.
Yes.
I don't
Mr.
know that
Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic. I don't know if the Mr. Fantastic bucket would do as well as the Galactus bucket.
No, but one of the other movie studios does have a Mr. Fantastic bucket. Like, it's a regular plastic bucket with his arm wrapped all the way around it.
No, that's not as cool as
Okay.
Galactus. Now the Rock bucket, that'd be kind of cool. Maybe like a cookie jar at the top of the rock comes off, your popcorn's in there. Probably a lot of kernels on the bottom being
time.
the rocks. So it's clobbering
It
time.
should say it's clobbering time when you open it.
Clobbering time. It's clobbering time.
I am struggling whether I am simply fatigued with Pedro Pascal or whether I am fatigued of seeing him on the red carpet.
Well, fortunately I try to stay away from the red carpet because those are so. There's besides the Oscars and big award shows where it's fun to see what everybody's wearing.
You should do a quick dive into what Pedro Pascal has worn on a red carpet.
I'm good. I'm good.
We're gonna miss Joan Rivers for that.
Oh, absolutely. I think just in general because he's in flipping everything, and I'm like, is there no one else in Hollywood that wants to be in any of these roles?
And
Is he that good? I mean, like,
is
I enjoyed him as the Mandalorian, but again, he had a helmet on, so that seemed to help. Maybe I should get my Boba Fett helmet and see if that helps us. I'm talking about Boba Fett.
And it's a little bit, not that the Mandalorian's a flat role, but I did not feel it needed a tremendous amount of acting chops to do the Mandalorian.
I mean, David Prowse's acting chops were so good to play Darth Vader, they had James Earl Jones voice it.
So to watch then all these other pieces he comes into, I'm just not sure.
And on the junket, he's talking about other things he wants to go and do and be in with his sibling, and I'm like...
So there used to be a Hollywood thing called an it girl. And you cast the it girl in everything because she was super popular
Right.
at the moment and it would sell tickets. Is Pedro Pascal the 2025 it girl? Would that feed his gender fluidity viewpoint to call him the it girl?
Well, and just his... I mean, I was surprised when I looked up something on him today that he's 50. I'm like, Whoa, I didn't realize you were quite that old. So you're aging well. Bravo for you, sir.
And there is a Bravo. He struggled for a long time as an actor and is
Yeah.
making the most of his
Oh,
25 minutes of
yeah.
fame.
Get in there and get
Right.
all that money while you can. Like
Absolutely.
I don't begrudge him that, but I'm like, casting directors and Hollywood studio execs. I'm like, there's other people out there. I swear there are, and they'll probably work cheaper now that he's in it. I mean, maybe he works really cheap, and that's why he's in everything. You don't hear about him like in a Tom Cruise got 25 million for this picture. You don't hear that, so maybe he does work cheap.
But here's kind of the flip side of that. There's an announcement this week about the new Zelda Legend of Zelda
Mm-hmm.
live action.
Right.
And the hoopla over the excitement over
Right.
unknowns being cast as Link and Zelda.
Right.
Maybe we're not the only ones being fatigued.
Agreed. And I mean, I think that's.
Unless they
good.
announce that Pedro Pascal is playing the other wizard person. I don't follow Legend of Zelda.
Oh, we'll have
I
to go
don't
play
know
some
all the
Switch after this, and so
characters.
we'll get her updated. Don't worry, friends. Don't hate on her too much. We'll go play some Legend of Zelda on the Switch, and it'll get her caught up. And between no time she'll be loving
I'm
Zelda and Link.
excited
And
when we're at Gen Con and I recognize that cosplay is Link.
be like, oh look,
I'm
it's
like, oh.
Link. Yeah, it's like the third one today. Okay, sure.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, I am personally tired of Pedro Pascal. Not that there's anything wrong with him. Like, is there somebody else? I'm like, you're just I mean, he's not. I don't know. He's not Kevin Costner where he plays Crash Davis and never really plays.
Right.
But
And think
I
about
don't know that he's some great actor. I'm like, oh, I'd love if Pedro Pascal played X role or Y
I
role.
don't think this went on when Harrison Ford was playing Indiana Jones and Han Solo and making other movies in between. I don't feel like there was this type of him again.
No,
So what's different?
I think there's so much all at once because those were spaced out a little bit more, and it feels like it's one right after another now. I mean, even as in the I don't know the second chapter of Harrison Ford's career after Star Wars, the original trilogy was done, and Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, again had pretty well paid out when he made regarding Henry and Presumed Innocent and 6 Days, 7 Nights. Those were certainly that second chapter away from that role, and you only got one of those every couple of years. But he wasn't also on TV shows and in a movie that came out every 6 months. I mean, it wasn't that constant barrage.
Maybe.
And it wasn't just like he was everywhere all at once. Because I mean, not only that, he's on TV streaming shows as well with The Last of Us. It's just
So I was just gonna
right.
say, is some of this the effect of, we went from studio houses and network television,
Right.
an introduction to Showtime and HBO and some of those cable networks. Now you have, 12 different streaming networks that are all getting their own unique content that they're producing, as well as everything else that had been there before. And so that opportunity to be in things more frequently is there.
But I mean, if you think about when they used to talk about movie stars of old, you could put them in anything and the movie will open and it'll sell and it'll do well. And or they're a bankable actor.
Right.
You can put them in, and there isn't a whole lot of that in the 21st century. I think Tom Cruise is the closest to that, and he very carefully curates and picks his roles. And I mean, he's had a couple that they opened well, but then kind of died off. But for the most part, he is the closest thing we have to a movie star. Oh, Tom Cruise in it, that movie's going to make money, whether you like it or not. It's like that's going to go and do some serious numbers. And even the last Mission Impossible, as much money as it made, I'm like, did it pay for itself? Who cares? Seems to be the new accounting in Hollywood. I'm like, theaters still get half of that money. Anyway, but for a while there was a stretch of where Will Smith was the bankable actor. I mean, July 4th, he owned it over and over, and then Wild Wild West came out, and the bloom was off the rose, and I was like, oh.
It's really sad.
And I mean, such a good show turned into such a
Right.
just
It was
awful
such a
movie.
good show.
and was so excited about Kevin Kline playing the role of Artemis Gordon, but there just aren't those bankable. I don't know anybody's going, oh, we'll put Pedro Pascal in it. He's bankable, and we'll make our money back. I just don't read any of that in the press or hear any of that or that kind of talk.
Let's put Pedro Pascal in some of these remakes, right? A known entity and remake it. Is it still bankable?
Well, that was the meme I shared the other day about the Disney Lucasfilm said, hey, we're going to reboot Indiana Jones. And the next day I see a meme and it's, pulling the spider webs out, coming out of the cave with the head, wearing the coat and the hat. And it's Pedro Pascal's face posted on the kind of cartoonish character. And it's like, no!
Well, don't put him in something that was good the first time. Put him in, like, Wild West. Let's do a remake Wild West and put him in.
They don't remake bad things and make them good. They remake good things.
That's the problem.
And make them bad. Like, some of these weren't good. Like, why don't you remake it and do it right? Or fix the problems? Or put somebody good in there. Have a decent writer. God forbid.
I think there is also
And George, stop fixing Star Wars.
The video games as a genre to pull as product to make movies from. Again, as we've talked about older Hollywood and mid-age Hollywood, that wasn't something that was available. So the product to pull from is a lot larger. You don't just have original stories. You don't just have books. You don't just have plays to adapt. Now you have video games to adapt as well. And that'll be interesting to see. I'm waiting for the first Oscar adaptation that comes from a video game.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, we got the new Mortal Kombat trailer dropped.
That is not going to be the one.
Video game ones. Pedro Pascal's not in it.
But it's not going to win an Oscar either.
You don't think so? You don't think Carl Urban's going to get nominated for Best Leading Man?
I will tell you someone who has a resume almost as long as Pedro Pascal at this point, but doesn't get talked about and doesn't seem to have the same fatigue to it. Carl Urban seems to be in everything. Everything.
But he's sometimes secondary characters and has some range. I mean, when you go from playing Judge Dredd to playing Bones and do both those well.
And he's in the Riddick one, and then he's in Thor. He's in 2 of the Thor movies. He's everywhere. But in a good way.
But not all at once, like Pedro Pascal.
But not all at once. And maybe that's it. He's spent Riddick's going back again. That's the Wayback Machine, years in between some of those.
And again, a movie that flopped in the theater and developed a cult following after the fact. So, and speaking of Pedro Pascal and Carl Urban, they announced that there's a new Judge Dredd coming with Taika Waititi as the director. I don't know if Guardians Judge Dredd really is gonna work out, but
he didn't do Guardians. He did Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thor: Love and Thunder. There we go. I've got James Gunn fatigue now.
Fall Guy, or Fallout. No,
it's Fall Guy.
It's not Fall Guy.
Not Fall Guy.
It's not Fall Guy.
It's not Fallout Boy.
No, the name of the character is Guy.
Oh, Free Guy.
Free Guy. There we go. Sorry.
With Ryan Reynolds, I'd watch him in anything. And bring Ryan Reynolds more movies with Ryan Reynolds.
I don't get Ryan Reynolds.
No, I never get Ryan Reynolds shade.
I'm having a hard time with this one.
But I mean, there was not much else announced. There was a screenwriter possibly mentioned, and I'm like, okay, is Carl Urban going to come back and play Dredd? Because he was a great Dredd, and that was a great Judge Dredd movie. And I went in with no expectation. I'm like, the guy that played Bones is going to be Dredd? Like, what?
This harkens back to a lot the kind of character he was in Riddick, though.
Absolutely, but coming off the Stallone Dredd movie from years ago, that was so campy. I mean, it was dark and had some of that over-the-top flavor the comic did, but it wasn't as dark and gritty as the comic really was. And the Dredd movie was, I mean, that's as dark and gritty as a movie as you get. I mean, that one was just, there was all kinds of darkness and evil and just, it just got nasty. And I'm like, yes, this is what Judge Dredd should be. And I don't want Taika Waititi in there with like, hey, let's have a joke to relieve the tension. It's Judge Dredd. It's supposed to be tense and dark and...
So we did not watch Jojo Rabbit.
No, no.
which he's well known for. And the hope, as we've read some things, is that that's the type of humor that's brought to Judge Dredd, which would keep the dark, would keep the gritty, and some comic relief. I assumed Jojo Rabbit, the ads for it looked a lot to me like Inglourious Bastards, which also had that kind of, not comic relief, it was a dark comedy.
Right. It was, yeah, absolutely had that dark
but
comic
I didn't
effect.
particularly enjoy Inglourious Bastards. So
And,
I had no
and
interest.
You don't enjoy that genre, that particular
Correct.
genre.
I'm
yeah.
not a big fan of that genre.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need more distance
And
from
the
World War II
and,
to be
and,
able to.
and sometimes being a little gruesome to be gruesome. I mean,
right.
you loved Reservoir Dogs so much.
Right. I might go back and watch that again. So I don't know whether it's worth going and watching Jojo Rabbit then for us to have a better feel of what his comedy style may be and where in a gritty Judge Dredd he's going to try and introduce some of that. And again, from a basic Hollywood misunderstanding I may have, where does that lie in between a writer and a director? It's not like the director's introducing comedic lines. The writer wrote them. So does it matter?
And then the director brings in their fixer to fix everything that's wrong with the script and do that kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna reserve any other thoughts until I see a casting and maybe
I mean,
a
this
first
is years
look.
out.
Yeah, and so I mean, as good compared to as bad as the previous Dread movie was, which it has some okay parts. It's still there, yeah. So we're good.
I mean, sometimes there are movies you just have to go in. Oh, well, this is how this person.
And totally
does
check
this.
your brain. And there
Right.
was a little bit of comic relief in there. I mean, and it harkened to the comic. Yeah, the technology was always giving them problems and was a little more advanced and was ready to work. So they played on that, with the cycle not working right and this and that breaking. But again, the rest of the movie was so campy. It's like, do you really need that much relief? Anyway.
So I think back when we talk about kind of dark comedy like that, the Punisher one you love
With Thomas Jane?
with Thomas Jane, right? Was a good take on it was a darker Punisher. It was a bloodier Punisher.
Yeah.
That was Dolph Lundgren, the one before
Dolph Lundgren did the original one with Louis Gossett, and that one was again so campy, and Dolph Lundgren's English at the time was so
Man, he worked so hard.
subpar at the time, and I'm like, and that movie was just, as much as I was excited about the Punisher, I'm like, oh, this is not good.
But the Jane one was really good.
Oh, it was so good.
And it was gritty.
Yeah.
And it was dark, but it had some comic relief in it as well. They weren't jokes for jokes' sake.
Right.
Those type of films need a break so that your audience takes a breath so they can move on with the rest of the story and be okay. And it was really well done in that one. And so if Judge Dredd comes in like that and has that type of comic relief to it or that type of dark comedy to it, what I don't want is comedy of the violence that's taking place. I think,
making light of it.
I think that's where I tend to struggle with a film. I was like, if we're going to have that amount of violence that's there for a purpose, I don't also want to be making fun of it. Now, there are plenty of bloody Bullet Train. The comedy that was there of the violence was because it was comedic. It was not that we took a really serious scene that was bloody and then made fun of it.
Right.
Like, the purpose of it was they went hand in hand. So I don't know where I'm going with that anymore. I've kind of rambled off. I'm sorry, but
hey, you're okay. As long as Pedro Pascal's not in the new Dread movie, we'll hold out some hope for it. Speaking of franchises, we haven't talked a lot about gaming, so I see D&D has a new franchise model. as announced by their new director, producer there on the biggest media source of all. That's right, kids, LinkedIn.
Is that not where you go for your hard news and press releases typically?
Yeah, especially about gaming news or anything in the entertainment industry, I think, man, LinkedIn's going to have that hard hitting commentary that I really crave.
We'll get into the franchise part here in a minute. I've just had a thought though, and I've wondered, as Hasbro has released a staffing change, LinkedIn might actually be the right place to make that announcement. And I think that's all they thought they were doing. They're just making a staffing change announcement.
You mean you found your job on LinkedIn? No, LinkedIn hired me to find out why people aren't using it.
Great quote. But if you were making some kind of corporate change, like what I should go do for Astronomer is go look up their LinkedIn account and find out where they're posting, who holds what positions there.
See if they need a legal counsel. Let's work remote.
But if Hasbro thought they were just making some staffing changes, LinkedIn might have been the right place for them. The fact that this seems much more newsworthy. Oh, hello, Pat.
Mo's done with his nap. He needed to stretch. He got all excited about D&D.
Yeah, so franchise model. I got kind of excited when this first came out.
When I think franchise, I think they're gonna, there's gonna be a D&D store on every corner like McDonald's,
which also would have been kind of cool.
And we're gonna have to buy our napkins directly from them. And if we don't get our branded character sheet, we can't play D&D because
might have been kind of cool. I initially thought this seems like a great way to solve part of the OGL problem they thought they had.
A self-created problem.
A self-created problem. If Hasbro, who doesn't understand D&D.
No, not at all.
That's not even
they
an elephant in the room.
It doesn't make enough money, and damn it, they're mad.
So if part of their concern was under the open gaming license, everybody else was making money off of something they owned. A franchise license seemed to me to resolve the problem. Go buy a franchise license, have them tiered for however much you make or want to do, and then you can go off and continue with your company and do all the things that make you money with your franchise license of D&D. This seemed to be a somewhat solution to the OGL crisis they created.
So XYZ Gaming Company can call up WotC Hasbro and say, hey, I want to buy a franchise, and they say, great, besides the OGL, you've bought the franchise, so even those things that are excluded from the OGL, you can use those because you're paying us it almost sounds like licensing, not franchising.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's such an interesting term that they would use franchise, and I think it's the more that leaks out about it is becoming a misnomer. That it's not really a franchise. They're talking more about it in the way Disney talks about the Marvel franchise or the Star Wars franchise. And you have all these things hopefully working together in concert to support one another.
Which I don't think is a misnomer. That makes more sense when you come out and hear the problems that have been going on.
From a corporate standpoint, shouldn't all the corporate-y people be doing that anyway? Shouldn't we have, they had one D&D, I'm like, is that your vision, or is that like somebody in marketing said, oh, one D&D, and I said, oh, huzzah, we'll announce that. What does it mean? Hell if we know. We're just going to announce it because it sounds cool.
What's it going to apply to? I don't know. I'm only in this little silo, so it can only apply to the thing I'm in a silo about.
Somebody said, hey, come up with a new marketing term.
It can't apply to all these other things. It can't apply to books and game and video and movie and toy and... because it was all so segregated. And I don't think that was well known.
And that is a huge problem in so many industries. These silos where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing it.
Right.
And I'm like, what do they do in the C-suite? Do they not talk about that? Do they talk about Coldplay concerts? I'm like, why aren't they talking about this is what we're doing? And
it goes back to the communication problem. That has a weekly stand-up meeting.
Yep.
Your department stands up and says, these are the things we're all working on. And by the way, this is where I need you to go talk to this other department so that we're all on the same page about
it. And this is the corporate vision we're trying to live out, and this is why we're doing this. And sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes you're like, well, I don't sit in the C-suite and I'm not a Coldplay fan, so I guess we'll just do it until it doesn't
heard
work.
about it,
Right.
and you knew it, and it was
Absolutely.
being implemented in the department you're at.
And that's what we're going to do.
That WotC Hasbro was not doing that seems bizarre to me.
And Hasbro is a big, real company, not taking anything away from WotC as a gaming company or a division. I mean, they're a real company. TSR was a real company. I mean, there's plenty of little publishers that are real companies, but I mean, these are like business school people and MBAs and the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, isn't that important to have that vision? Because without the vision, the people are unrestrained. I mean, you're not all going in the same direction. Everybody's like, oh, well, we're going to make D&D coasters, but we're going to use the old logo, not the new logo. And I'm like...
I mean, can you imagine an analogy where they decided they were going to rewrite the rules for Monopoly? Which in some ways, everybody's got a little house rule that goes on in Monopoly, right? So they're going to incorporate somebody's house rule and rewrite some of those rules. Free parking then changes how they do that. How many times you roll the dice to get out of jail changes, right? But at the same time, we're going to make a video game version of
Sorry,
it.
the cat just bit me.
We're going to make a video game version of Monopoly, and we're going to do that using the old rules.
That doesn't sound very smart.
And we're going to release them within months of each other.
You could call it Monopoly Classic.
Except we wouldn't, because we didn't know that they were rewriting any of the rules over here. This concept that this could have happened under Hasbro at the moment, because
it kind of did.
They don't know.
It kind of did. I mean, if you look at where they were talking about Project Sigil that was going to be there, that was the new cash cow going forward. Everything was going to trickle down from that, and they were trying to shoehorn the new rules for D&D 24-25 into Sigil. And I'm like, ooh, you're doing that backwards. You're trying to teach the software your process as opposed to use the software and put the process around it.
Right.
So you're spending a lot of time and money. I hope it's not just maybe it's a bunch of AI bots that were like, hey, let's D&D it up, and we'll go watch some Baldur's Gate games on Twitch, and that's how we'll come up with the rules for Sigil, and we'll put it all together. It'll be fine. And who knows? Maybe there's more truth to that than not. But it doesn't make sense. It's like, if you're going to write new rules, and I know the 2024 rule set for 5th edition, 5.5, whatever you want to call it or how you refer to it, is more of an evolution than a revolution in the rules. I mean, the core mechanic didn't really change. Some of the, I don't know, ancillary, maybe even secondary, but mostly tertiary stuff changed and got tweaked, and some of the tone was changed, but it wasn't a huge revision like it was from 4th to 5th edition, or it was from 3.5 to 4th edition, because I mean 4th edition was such a change.
Right.
That was not, and 3 to 3.5, that was, oh, we need some money, and so we'll tweak a few things and put the books back out from the WotC Hasbro changeover, the quest for more money. And then the rejection of 4th edition, and people burned out and wanted some changes. I mean, that's where you see Pathfinder come in, D&D 3.75, where they tweaked a few things and changed the name to protect the copyright holders, and had great success because people were mad about 4th edition, and it didn't sell well. And I think you're seeing some of that with 2024 5th edition. They just aren't selling it. I mean, Daggerheart's just come out, and Daggerheart's crushing it. Now it's the new hotness, and it's getting a lot of play, and I understand all those dynamics, and people are out there, making videos about it and talking about it and playing about it. I'm sure it's going to have a big splash at Gen Con, but 2024 D&D is flat, so they need to right the ship, because Hasbro's not getting those money trucks backed up like they were hoping for. It's going the other direction.
So, is this going to save D&D? Or is this going to end up being the death knell under Hasbro and what? WotC, I think, will continue. Hasbro's
WotC has Magic, and Magic is the cash machine.
Right. Hasbro's
Oh, we need money.
interaction
Oh, shake the
through
magic
with
tree.
D&D though, is this going to save it or is this going to crush it?
So I think D&D has been around, since Gary and Dave invented it, back in the day, and has evolved, has changed. There's been revolutions, there's been evolutions, and fifth edition, and as well as it was done, and some of the COVID winds that met, like, was a perfect storm. And
Mm-hmm.
as you saw geek culture become acceptable, and did really well. And I mean, that's why you still see, Paisley's out there with Pathfinder doing really well, competing against the 800-pound gorilla. And some of it's because they're not the 800-pound gorilla,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not all corporate-y and didn't, come out with a new edition just to, screw
Sell you a
everybody
new
out of
book.
$150 of new books that are essentially the same as the old ones were. I get all that. I don't think you can kill D&D. D&D is a cultural phenomenon.
Love it.
And D&D will continue in Daggerheart and Pathfinder and Shadow Dark, and I mean, there's a dozen different ones. I mean, Palladium Fantasy is a continuation of it. There's the OSR movement. Like, D&D will continue on. It may not be TSR WotC Hasbro branded. It might be, Paisio, or, Shadow Dark Enterprises, or whoever, whatever Kelsey's name is. It's Arcane Library. It's going to continue under those other names, but it's still D&D. The D&D, D with the TSR and all that, will it continue on? I hate to say Hasbro is too big to fail, but at some point, Hasbro and their fundamental misunderstanding of gaming and that culture is going to become tiresome.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we spent all this money for this IP that we've mismanaged at best, and been just a complete waste of churn, and done a lot of, I mean, there's some great things. I think 5th edition was great. I think the D&D movie was great. It was marketed horribly, but that new movie was great.
The new one was.
The video game properties, they keep shooting themselves in their foot and not figuring it out. And oh, we're going to microtransaction. Oh, we're not, because everybody's mad. And they just, it's like, come out and go in a direction and say, this is where we're going. And I thought maybe Sigil and 1D&D were going to do that. And nope, that's all gone now. So what are they doing? So maybe this is okay, we're going to circle the wagons, figure out, gosh, we've all been going in all these different directions, and maybe we should try to figure out, go back to that 1D&D philosophy, even if it was just a cool marketing term, and try to all pull the wagon in the same direction. And if Hasbro releases the reins and lets WotC and gaming culture give the fans what they want,
Yeah.
then I think there's hope.
I think so.
And if they say, we just want to, again, monetize this, I like money. I mean, I'm all for them making money. I don't begrudge anybody making a dime or a dollar even, or $10. But their fixation, like, make a good game and people will come and buy it.
Right.
You see that with Shadow Dark. You see that with Daggerheart. And I mean, Shadow Dark won game of the year last year. Daggerheart, I don't know if it's good enough. I've seen some things that I'm like, I don't know if that's my cup of tea. Lots of people are excited about it, love Critical Role, love Matt Mercer, and like what they're doing, and that's their flavor of D&D. I don't particularly love Pathfinder. But there's plenty of people that do, and I'm like, great, that helps the hobby. The more successful game companies that are out there putting out their flavor of, dare I say, D&D, the better the hobby is in general, because not everybody wants, D&D Advanced Edition. That's why there was Second Edition. And people that, still play AD&D. There's people that still play Second Edition. People that still play Third Edition. And I think there's a few people out there that play Fourth Edition. Nobody played it in the first place, but that might be their particular cup of tea. Great, that benefits the hobby. That, rising tide brings all those boats up, and now you're like, oh well, I enjoyed playing D&D. What's Shadow Dark all about? Oh, I like, 5th edition. What's Daggerheart all about? Oh, I like that. Hey, I want to play a sci-fi one. Oh, look, there's Starfinder out there. I can go play oh, I don't like that flavor. Well, there's one with less magic or more magic or myth or whatever. And so I think that helps out. And you're wandering around looking for that new game. Oh, hey, look at that cool board game. Oh, they have minis or paints or whatever. All that success helps and doesn't hurt. And I think it's better. There is more, dare I say, diversity of companies and flavors of high, low, medium fantasy role playing games. I think that's great. I would love to see D&D right the ship. And if that's under WotC and Hasbro, awesome. And if Hasbro, gets not making enough money fatigue and says, hey, we're going to sell D&D off to the highest bidder, then bully for them, and whoever buys it hopefully, has enough money and properly monetizes it and doesn't go in, try to scrape a few pennies together and I mean, I think, and if they do it right and respect the fans and that culture and to some extent the history of it, because it's built its own history now,
right? So
then I think it'll be successful.
You and I have spent, I don't know, maybe 2 summers now listening to a lot of audiobooks about TSR history and about D&D history.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of pegging off what you've just said there, if you go back and think about, would Gary Gygax and Dave Artisan and Don Kay and the Bloom brothers, do you think they'd be in favor of creating a more in-house D&D franchise and approaching it from an all-in-one status, like this change looks like it's going to be, as opposed to as scattered as it has been?
So, I mean, thinking about how TSR was up through Gary's tenure, when Madam Buck Rogers came in and took over the company. I think they wanted to be in all these places. I mean, they ended up having a TV show, Saturday morning cartoon to sell their brand. Never could get the movie off the ground, and then decades later, when the movie did get off the ground, it was an abomination. And I mean, even Jeremy Irons couldn't save it. That movie, it was terrible. And I don't know. Oh yeah, nobody says I like. Hey, it was okay. Hey, I was happy to see D&D on the screen. Absolutely. Was I happy with the product I saw? No, not a chance. I don't think there's anyone out there saying, "Oh, it's the greatest movie ever," even a good movie. And it being a household name, and I think now it's a household name. I mean, you can't find too many people that haven't heard of D&D, and some of that is, geek culture has become not only acceptable, but the norm in some regards.
I think some of that is, D&D does kind of become the Kleenex of tabletop role-playing games. But certainly, as we've seen with Stranger Things, they play D&D. And it's referenced.
Yeah, they did a little bit, and now they're just trying to get back to it. Can we just please play D&D?
It's referenced in a lot of seasons. It is the viewership of Stranger Things is higher than what they're selling copies of D&D for. But again, it's that raises all boats. Maybe people found other tabletops that they're going out and playing as well. And even if it introduced 10 new people to the hobby, that's 10 people who wouldn't have gone and looked at it except for this interaction.
And I think there were a bunch that introduced, and there were just as many that were older and had some money and had some time now and were like, oh my gosh, loved doing that, and introduced it to their kids, or called up their buddies and said, hey, we should somebody should go get a couple of these books and get your dice out of the attic, or call your mom and see if she's thrown them away yet, and let's sling some dice. And I think it had a very big reinvigoration. And certainly brought a bunch of kids that had never heard of it, and made parents maybe never played or introduced them to that stuff. But I think the reinvigoration, as much as anything, and the time and the age, I mean, just hit perfectly, because now those people that played it as in elementary school and junior high, even in college, older, established, have some time, have some money now. It's like, oh, I have some time to go buy $150 worth of books and buy the beautiful inclusion dice, and like, I'm not going to sit around and slap chop my paint. I'll buy them from some guy on eBay and have really pretty miniatures. And so again, that rose all those boats and gave other opportunities to look into role playing games. But yeah, D&D is absolutely the Kleenex of tabletop role playing games. So bringing it all back in house and trying to have a consolidated brand theory, I think can only help if they can execute on that vision. Doesn't seem to have been a lot of that in recent history for sure. I mean, gosh, fifth edition was 10 years old or so.
Right.
So, and I think was wildly, certainly in the role playing industry. I mean, anybody that's not Hasbro WotC and said, "Hey, you're going to sell this many books of your Players Edition," they'd be like, we'd be shooting off skyrockets if we sold 10% of that or half of that for anybody but maybe Paisley, and even then, I'm sure they'd take those numbers.
Do you buy? Who is it they've just named? Ubi. In their announcement, who did they just name ahead of?
Oh, Dan Ayub.
So at the end of the introduction of
Yeah.
him, it says, and is a former player of Magic. I remember it saying. I don't remember it saying.
I think he said he
RPG,
played D&D.
but
Yeah.
Did that feel to you like a throwaway line,
Yeah,
like required because we put him in there, or whether he really?
That was BS. Here's a piece of red meat, fans. He's one of us. It's gonna be okay. Go buy our shitty new books.
And if he's not actually one of us, what does that do to the ability to, not the ability to bring it all in house, but if we brought it all back together and we've put in charge of that someone who's not one of us?
So,
are we all corporation-y now?
Well, I mean, listen. Hasbro is a corporation, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders.
Right.
Well, but hear me out though. I take offense at that throwaway line because we're trying. I could care less if he still has D&D sheets on his childhood bed that mom made out of some fabric she bought at Joann's back in the day, or that he still has his plush Tiamat he goes to sleep with every night, and that's his road. Like, I don't care. Does he know how to run a business? Because this is a business, and it's show business, not show friends. And if he can run the D&D franchise, well, I don't care if he was ever a fan.
That's a good point, because any good business person says, this is my market, this is who currently buys, and this is where I can expand into. If you understand the basics of business, you don't need necessarily to have played and know the merchandise well.
And go hire somebody that does that you trust and you'll listen to, and isn't going to just shine you on and tell you whatever you want to hear, but you'll also trust even though you don't come from that background. I mean, again, whether he was a gamer or not, and again, I'm like, really, is that true? Oh yeah, sure. This one time I knew these guys and I slung some dice and
it
I
struck
played
me that way too.
Yeah, it felt like a total. I'm like, come on, you're pandering now.
Yeah.
Stop it. You're better than that.
Okay.
And if that's what we're gonna see as the franchise model, you're gonna pander to the fans.
Nobody's gonna want it.
Then you're in more trouble than you are now. And it's not gonna work out well because that authenticity, the fans can sniff that out if you're inauthentic.
That's very true.
And that's not going to go well. So I wish them well, because if WotC and D&D's franchise is doing well, everybody's doing well. And whatever that really means, if you're going to again do it better and put everybody on the same page, super. That's how it should be done. You would hope they, have their little fellowship meetings and like, this is what we're doing, guys. Okay, let's go forward. Oh, you disagree? Why? Great. I'll take that feedback. But at the end of the day, this is what we're doing. So I think that is good and helpful to the hobby, that they do well. And if Hasbro gets tired of not being properly monetized, then sell it off and somebody else will buy it. And God forbid it's Disney, but who knows? So I go to the the real amusement park ride like they had in the D&D cartoon. Yes.
Right.
Forget Tiana's Bayou. Let's go through Tiamat's Bayou.
Yeah.
Please no. Please
Please
no.
no. Don't speak that into existence.
All right. Well, this episode and our franchise for the day is wrapping up here. Please, as my beautiful, talented, and intelligent colleague said, like, subscribe, comment. We crave fellowship. Talk to us.
Yeah.
Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're right. Tell us something different. Tell us to stop picking on poor Pedro Pascal because you love him and he's the greatest star ever.
Oh, speaking of, can I pick on something real quick?
Oh, pick on something.
Okay.
Absolutely. The poor Kiss Cam guy again. He's had enough.
No. We talked briefly we talked longer than we meant to about Diamond.
Oh yeah, the Diamond disaster continues on.
So they have an update. Originally scheduled a hearing about liquidating their consigned stock. I laughed a little bit with a former background in law that was originally scheduled July 21st. There was some pushback to the court, and the article.
Because they were going to do it during Comic-Con.
Well, then it was moved to either the 24th or 25th, which would have been in the middle of San Diego Comic-Con, correct?
They're going to move it to the middle of Gen Con?
And to be honest, I was like, courts don't move things 4 or 5 days.
The wheels of justice turn slow, even if you're on a justice franchise.
So they have decided to move the hearing. They're going to have a status hearing August 5th, at which point they will set the date for the hearing on whether they can liquidate their consigned.
So for those of us that didn't go to law school and only went to law school by proxy, what goes on in a status hearing? Because that sounds like a waste of time.
It's not, though. It's the moment, because there's so many players at this point in this, right? We touched the other day on Diamond and Allied and Universal.
Yeah, Universal, absolutely.
Okay, so there's them. Mm-hmm. There's the bankruptcy trustee who's supposed to be managing
who should
what
be steering
happened.
the ship. He should know the status, or she, as the case may be.
And then there's all the creditors, who at this point are all going out and getting their own lawyers to say, hold on a second.
And all the
that's my product.
The consignees.
Side note, there is potentially 2 pieces of precedent, prior law cases that have been settled that may well say Diamond can't sell off this consigned product.
Good.
Which is good. So, and Roll for Combat has made a great argument that says you filed in January, you only get to claim the inventory you had in January, which you keep invoicing us for saying you sold off. So I guess you don't own any of our inventory, which I thought was a great argument to be made. Back to what the status here. So status is you get all those parties together, and the judge says, listen, these are the steps that should happen next in a bankruptcy. Here's the next 3 steps. Where are we as a group on those next 3 steps? We just talked about having corporate stand-up meetings to make sure we're all the same.
Yep.
It's the court having a corporate stand-up meeting saying, where are we on all these 3? What are we agreeing on and what are we arguing about? What things then do I need to have a hearing on to hear all the parties about it? And a lot of hearings are held by paper. They're not always the glamorous on TV, stand up in a courtroom and argue.
They don't get their Perry Mason moment.
No. A lot of times it's paper. But this sets the schedule and the dates to submit all that paperwork. And then if there is an in-person hearing to be held, do that at that point. But the status hearing requires all the parties to be present, which is why scheduling it the week of Comic-Con was really challenging. You know, originally that was objected because one of the big creditors was going to have their attorneys were out of the country. And they're like, we can't physically be there for this. It does make me wonder if the original reporting didn't understand this and that it was originally a status hearing and they've just moved the status hearing. Maybe it was not actually a hearing for the liquidation. It was probably an original status hearing that they've moved the status hearing, at which point they'll schedule the hearing on
Us
liquidation.
lay people here hearing and think, oh, I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, Your Honor, so help me God.
This also comforted me. This is how I understood the legal system to work more. They filed for bankrupt Chapter 11 in January. I was super surprised if they thought they were finishing this in July. That's a really fast time frame to move things through legally. So this feels more like the time frame I'm used to reading about for a legal status.
There's wheels of justice turn slow.
They turn very slowly. Very slowly. So that's our quick update.
Gotcha. Well, time flies. We are out of time for today. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, like, subscribe,
and comment.
Please comment. Talk to us.
Tell me how fast you thought law should happen.
That's right. Tell us about your Perry Mason moment, or again, to leave our poor friend Pedro Pascal alone. So for Fellowship of Geeks, I'm Jim.
I'm Diane.
May you all your games go well, all your movies be wonderful, and your red carpet moments be flawless.